Before we get into the episode, shout out to the sponsors supporting Unscripted Turbulence, Dude Wow Cocktails. Now, I love its Bloody Mary mix without alcohol, so you can really make it your own. I've had it both ways, even made a mezcal martini with it. Shout out Martinis with Medgie. Smoky, sultry, honestly, so good. If you're curious, use my code Turbulence26 for 10% off. The link is in the episode description. Take what lands, leave what doesn't, and please follow or subscribe. It helps more than you know. All right, let's get into it. I'll do my little intro and then we're going to get going. All right.
Sounds good.
Welcome to Unscripted Turbulence. I'm your host, Raegan Medgie, and today we are going to kick back and relax. We have a little bit of some turbulence, and then we have smooth sounds from the Man in Black, kinda. I'm joined by Scott Moreau, who I got to know through a very good friend. I'm going to shout out her name, Sonia Rincon. Another TV person. Shocker. TV connects us all.
Indeed.
So Scott is married to Sonia, and he is a Johnny Cash performer. Is that the way to say it? Like, I don't.
So, I mean, I'm an actor, but I'm
Yes.
also a tribute artist, right?
That's what it
so
is.
it's, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I never knew what to say because I went to one of your shows. I love me some Johnny Cash. I found my love for him. Like, my dad likes Johnny Cash. And then I got to know Johnny Cash through my dad. And then I went to Nashville, went to the museum. And then I was just like hooked. But Scott knows Cash in a way that many people don't. And we had our little discussion on the phone about this episode. So we're going to eventually lead into that. But first, I know we talked about your title, but so what would you consider yourself overall?
Well, you know, generally speaking, like actors, we tend to use a lot of, not hashtags, but multi-hyphenates, I guess you'd say. But like, I would consider myself a singer, actor, musician, director.
Oh my gosh.
In that order. Because I feel like that's how I started out.
Right.
Was singing. So
Okay. And we'll start with where you're from, because I think this is interesting. You're from Maine.
I am. I'm from the great state of Maine. Yep.
And now you live here in New York.
I do indeed. Yeah. It's I wouldn't say it's a culture shock. I mean, I've been here for long enough that it's,
Right.
you know, but I think the first time I came here, I was 16. Came to stay with some friends of my mother's, family friends, really.
Yeah.
One of their fathers had a psychiatric convention in town, and so we stayed at this like massive suite at, I couldn't tell you what hotel. I think it was actually the Marriott Midtown.
Okay.
But anyway, so we stayed there, saw my first Broadway show. My mother was a huge Mickey Mantle fan. He happened to die while we were here in New York. And the morning that he passed, my mom said, well, we have to go to Yankee Stadium and see a game. So we went to the game on the day Mickey Mantle passed. And
you got tickets.
yeah. Way up in like the back row of the 400s. This is the old Yankee Stadium, because I think that was 1995. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
An eon ago. But yeah, so I'm from a very small town in Maine. It's called Litchfield. I find it hilarious whenever somebody asks and I say the actual town name, and people are like, oh yeah, I know where that is. No, you absolutely do not know where that is. It is, it's equidistant sort of between Augusta, which is our capital, and Lewiston, Auburn. Which unfortunately is probably most known to people outside of Maine as the place where the mass shooting happened in 2023. But it's it's central Maine. I grew up on the lake. I grew up in a very, very, very rural town. There are literally no stoplights. There are no sidewalks pretty much anywhere. I mean, it is, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
And now you live within New York City.
I do. Yeah. Yeah, it's very different.
Oh.
Although, there are some, I found some solace, particularly during the pandemic when, obviously we all had our different things that we were dealing with. I was
Yeah.
dealing with basically a year and a half of work that had been canceled.
Yeah.
So I just kind of had to figure things out. But part of what I did was, trying to get a little more in shape, which I actually did quite well with even being confined. And I would do a lot of walks around Van Cortlandt Park because we're not that far from there.
Yeah.
And it is a huge park. If you've not been up there and you think the only big park in the city is Central Park, I highly suggest you go up to Van Cortlandt. There's so much up there. I mean, there's little ponds and creeks.
Okay, I feel like I've been up there. It was when I was working at Channel 7 Eyewitness News, and we did some kind of, I don't know what kind of story, it was snow. And I ended up walking back into this area where I never saw there was like a bridge in the middle of this forested area.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, am I even in New York anymore?
Yeah, I mean
that must be the same place.
Yeah,
Huge.
and
It was
you're
enormous.
right next. There's a golf course right there, and you're right next to the Henry Hudson. So it's like there's so much right there, and also again, like I said, vegetation. I don't know. It just feels like you're in a totally different place.
Right.
So I found that I was missing home because I couldn't really travel home because of the pandemic, because my my mother was immunocompromised, so that was just not going to be a thing until the vaccine hit. And so I just felt like I was missing home a lot. And so I found when I was going out and walking around there, it felt a little more like civilization that wasn't a concrete jungle, and in a good way. And so I have a very that park has a nice kind of a soft spot in my heart, I guess, up there. And they do the Philharmonic's playing there tomorrow night, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they they have all kinds of stuff. They do movies in the park. I mean, you can take. I've walked all the way from Yonkers on those trails, like just over the line into Yonkers, and then walked back.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with. I'm more familiar with Astoria Park because I live in Astoria. I mean, it's not the biggest park, but you have your little neighborhood areas. So. Yeah, I should get up there to check that out because I do like a nature walk. It's better than going all the way up to the lower Hudson Valley when you have to try to get through the traffic.
Oh, yeah.
So now, growing up, we, when did the Johnny Cash thing start? I know we talked about this on the phone because, you are a tribute artist to Johnny Cash. And
right.
He's a very layered individual. From what I know.
Yes.
Again, you're going to be schooling all of us because we also have a treat at the end of this pod.
Yeah, I'll play a little something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you got to stay tuned for it. So when did you get into the Johnny Cashness of it?
Oh, man. I mean, that honestly was pretty late. So, I mean, I've only really been into him for maybe like 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I am an actor. I have a BFA in music theater from Illinois Wesleyan University. Go Titans!
Yeah.
And so my background is really in theater, though. Kind of my first love growing up was rock and roll and pop music because a lot of that's basically what my parents played. They played a lot of Elvis, Four Seasons, Frankie Avalon, Ricky Nelson, the Beach Boys. So that's the stuff that I basically grew up with. So I never really understood that was a different sort of time period. You know what I mean? It felt like that was the current music when I was a kid because I didn't.
Oh, because that's all they listened to.
Yeah, and then when we listened to stuff in the car, it was usually the oldies station, and then sometimes easy listening, but. So that to me was what was sort of current.
And would you consider that like doo-wop kind of like was that? Because
that's that's like another offshoot. Okay. I mean, it's similar time period to me. Like doo-wop is what was created in Detroit in the mid '50s at Hitsville, USA. So the Supremes, Diana Ross. I mean, even Marvin Gaye is kind of in there. Little Stevie Wonder before he became Stevie Wonder, and then a bunch of other like girl groups like the Crystals, the Commodores. Like that sort of stuff is kind of doo-wop.
All right, because my dad likes. I always called it doo-wop. He likes Motown very much, but he also likes like the. It's like the. Oh gosh, it's like I don't like the music. It's not Motown. I thought it was doo-wop, but now you explained it. It's like
it might well be though. If you're talking about like multiple
drive-in
people,
theater, or like the drive-ins and
sure.
the 50s, like those, like the
I'm thinking something like yakety yak, don't talk back. That's
you know
what I mean.
Yeah. My dad loves it. Dad, I know he's listening, but I
kind of
really
doo-wop. I guess.
And he does like the Elvis though, so I can, you know,
Yeah.
I understand that. But all right, go on.
But so that was sort of my introduction to music as a kid. Then I got into theater through my parents because they'd take me to shows. And even when I wasn't really all that interested, I thought it was pretty cool. But I just kept singing and singing and singing and then thought, well, what's my path forward with this? Either I'm going to be a music teacher or I guess I'm going to go to school for theater. And I chose the latter. But then eventually, so, you know, I graduate college. I'm out in the world now doing theater as a professional, but I really was only doing it in what we call summer stock, which is like, you know, basically between May and kind of end of August usually. I mean, there are tons of theaters around the country that do stock.
And what is stock for somebody who wouldn't know?
So basically it means that theater is probably only open for those months out of the year. They're closed for the rest of the year. They're only open during the summer. I'm trying to think of things around that are like that.
I know the Pocono Mountains has a community theater, and they're open. They're not a community theater, but they're open only a certain amount of time.
Probably what we call a regional theater.
Yeah.
So like here in New York, there are a couple within the area, like Westchester Broadway is one. They're year round, and so is Gateway out on Long Island.
Okay.
They're another what we call a regional theater, but not stock. So some of the more famous ones, like I'm biased for Maine. So two of the most famous are the Algonquin Playhouse and Maine State Music Theater. Algonquin Playhouse has been open for almost 100 years. Maine State Music Theater is over 65, I believe. So they're only open for those months because of tourism. And honestly, stock started for a lot of Broadway performers who were sick and tired of the grind and they wanted to escape the heat. So people that had relatively big names, like, people like Betty Davis have performed on the stage at Algonquin Playhouse because they were sick of the heat in New York. They didn't want to be here. And they were like, well, I'll go to this beautiful place on the coast and do some theater, and tourists will come and pay a premium. And so that's basically how summer stock got started. And that's how most theater performers really start. I mean, there's another famous one in Michigan called The Barn. That's where Jonathan Larson got his equity card. That's where Marin Maisie, who passed, she also got her equity card there. So that's kind of where we all basically cut our teeth is in summer stock theater, where you start rehearsals, on day one for show one. And if you're cast for the whole season, it means like you start rehearsals, you rehearse for like 2 weeks, you open the first show. And as soon as you open the first show, the day after opening, you're in rehearsal for the second show.
What?
So now you're rehearsing a show all day and you're performing another show at night. And you do that for an entire summer.
Okay, so
I did that forever. Yeah.
Okay, so I did. This is going to blow the socks off of some of the viewers and listeners. Your girl here did theater. Oh, yes, my friend. High school theater. But still, I did the theater.
Right.
I did musicals and straight plays. And the straight plays, it was just plays. Like, it wasn't singing and stuff. I couldn't imagine. I mean, when we did, again, it was around school. So I couldn't imagine learning a play or a performance and then doing something different that night. Like, wouldn't you get tripped up by the lines, memorizing? No,
well, I mean, I'm sure some people do. Most of us just have a way of like compartmentalizing different things, I guess. I mean, you want to get even more complicated. You talk about rep theaters, which there are a lot of places that call themselves a repertory theater, but they don't do shows in rep anymore.
And what is that?
Shows
Like
in rep means you basically rehearse everything at once, and then every night is a different show. So if you're doing 4 shows in rep, it means that you rehearse one, you open it, you rehearse one, you open it, but eventually on Tuesday you're doing, Dames at Sea, and on Wednesday you're doing Grease, and on Thursday you're doing Gypsy. So like you're doing different shows all the time.
I mean, I guess I could say it's almost like doing a live shot, like for TV news reporters, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a way, like we have to learn real quick and do a live shot, but it's like a minute 30, not like 3 hours or whatever the shows could be.
Yeah. Well, that's also how, if you're, and this is on my brain because we're taping this right after the Tonys. The Tonys were last night.
Oh, yes.
Some of the best, I have to say. I've been watching the Tonys since I was a kid. It's what made me want to get into theater and be here and be on Broadway and all of those things. Some of the best performances last night. It was a great broadcast, I will say that. But a lot of those people that you see are swings or offstage covers, and a lot of those people, like, there's a female swing in a show with a large ensemble. For instance, like Schmigadoon won best new musical last night. It's got a pretty big ensemble. There is some woman in that cast who is swinging 8 female roles. So she may not be on stage tonight, but tomorrow she might be in role 1. And so she has to know what side of stage she's on, what side choreography she's doing, what harmonies she's singing. And then, she could be off for a week, and then, she gets the call that she's on for track number 6. And so she has to go through her book and know what all of that is.
Well, you're really pulling back the curtain on what this Broadway situation is. I didn't know it was like that.
Yeah.
So the swings are like you're kind of swinging from different position within that show.
Yeah, not on a nightly basis. That would only be like in massive emergency. But you have ensemble members generally, who, again, they're the people who are sort of not in the background, but they're doing most of the choreography. They're singing harmony. They may have a couple of featured lines, but they're not the main characters. And then within that ensemble, sometimes you have offstage swings, which means there's somebody who doesn't perform on a nightly basis. They're basically waiting for somebody to get hurt, get sick, to come in and take over for, however brief it is. Sometimes they're like what they call vacation swings, so that, if somebody leaves to go on a vacation, they need to call somebody to come in. Then it gets even more complicated when you're talking about massive companies like, Wicked, who has a Broadway show. Then they have, a couple of national tours. Yeah. So like, let's say the Elphaba on Broadway decides she wants to take a 2-week vacation, and her understudy can't go on, then they might call the understudy from the first national tour to come back and go on Broadway. I mean, it's a kind of complicated. I mean, it isn't really. I mean, it's like that's why when people say it's like a big family, it really is. If you've done one show like that in any sort of main capacity, like if you've done the show Jersey Boys, you probably know everyone else who's done Jersey Boys, or almost everybody. I mean, again, with $1 Million Quartet, the show that I do and play Johnny Cash, if I haven't heard of you and you've done $1 Million Quartet, like, you've probably only done it once, because we all know each other. We've either done it together, or we know multiple mutual friends who have done it together.
So have you ever done Broadway, or? No,
unfortunately, not yet.
Yeah, yes.
But I did the first national tour of $1 Million Quartet. And what that means is when a show is on Broadway and it's successful, they decide, well, we're going to take it out on tour and take it around the country. So at the time, $1 Million Quartet was on Broadway, was playing the Nederlander. And it had decided, well, around the same time that we went on tour, they decided to transition the show to New World Stages out on, 51st? That used to be movie theaters, and now it's a series of a bunch of different, like, smaller theaters. It's a great place to see a bunch of different shows. We went out on the first national tour, so we rehearsed here in New York City at what used to be the Snapple Theater and is now, I don't even know what it's called anymore. Times Square Arts Center, maybe.
Okay.
It's where the Fantastics ran. It was the longest running show, like, in the world at the time. We rehearsed in the Jerry Orbach Theater there, which is somebody who I looked up to for a very long time. But anyway, so we rehearsed here in New York, and then we took the show out on the road. So we went to Cleveland to do what they call technical rehearsals. So for like 2 to 3 weeks, we were there, like, making sure the lighting designer had what they needed, making sure that the sound bugs were getting fixed, that, blocking in the set was everything, was where it needed to be. And then we took it out on the road, and I was out on the road with it for 4 years.
Oh, my God. So that's what Sonia would say, like, you're traveling with that specific, I mean, you've, among other things you've done, but so the $1 Million Quartet.
Yep, $1 Million Quartet.
So Johnny Cash.
Yep, Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley, Carl Perkins, and Jerry Lee Lewis is the quartet. It all takes place at Sun Records, December 4th, 1956. It was a Carl Perkins recording session. He was there to do a follow-up to his song Blue Suede Shoes, which most people don't understand is a Carl Perkins song. They think it was an Elvis song, but Carl Perkins recorded it, made it famous. He's there to do a recording session. Jerry Lee Lewis has just been hired as a studio piano player, is not sort of the rambunctious character we think of today. He is in the show, but like he's not famous yet. Elvis is in town because it's close to the holidays. He brings his girlfriend from the West Coast, and Sam Phillips, who is kind of widely regarded as the father of rock and roll, who owned Sun Records at the time and was the kind of mastermind behind all of those guys, as well as an engineer. He called Johnny Cash and said, well, why don't you come over? And called the Press Scimitar to have a photographer come by. I took a picture of the four guys around the piano. And
this is a true story.
This is a true story, yeah. And so that's the next day, the thing ran in the paper and said this quartet could sell 1 million. And so they became known as the $1 Million Quartet. And it really was the first and only time that they were all in one place at one time. And it kind of diverged very quickly from a Carl Perkins recording session to them just sitting around talking about experiences. Elvis has just come from his, if you can believe it, first failed attempt at performing in Las Vegas. It did not go very well. And when he came back, he was talking about having, seen all these different performers. And so he's talking to the guys about it. You can hear it all because it was recorded. And then they just start playing gospel songs and like trading off gospel songs and say, hey, Carl, you know that one? You do that one in A, or, oh, yeah, that's fine. And so they just like play snippets of songs, and, it's like probably a 2-hour session that is available, I should say. There is folklore that there is more that is technically available. And as we approach the 70th anniversary this year, I'm hoping that somebody, pulls the wool off and says, okay, well, here's all that stuff that we knew existed, but we've been waiting to release.
Wow. Talk about going back in time. Well, speaking of going back in time, take me back to the point where you really got involved with the Johnny Cash, because it was at a record store, right?
Yeah. So So again, we started talking about summer stock, and that's how we got to this. Mm-hmm. So I was working in summer stock at the time, and I also did this tour that I loved of A Christmas Carol with a group called the Nebraska Theater Caravan out of Omaha. So basically, at that point, I was only working professionally in theater from about the week before Halloween until about Christmas.
Okay.
And then, whenever summer stock started for whatever theater I got cast at. So May to, again, August. So the other time I was living at home in Maine, mm-hmm. and I was working at a record store because I've always been a pretty obsessive music fan. I have, a ridiculous collection of CDs and records and all of that. So I thought, okay, well, why not work at the place that I shop at all the time to get the discount, but also like I know what I'm doing. And if people come up to me and ask me for something, like I can actually be helpful. So I worked there for quite a while. It's a place called Bull Moose Music in Lewiston, Maine. It's a chain in Maine. And so I was working there, and I had a buddy who, he had a very eclectic music taste. He was very into Frank Zappa, Captain Beefheart, Country Joe and the Fish. I'm trying to think of other people he was into. But he kind of thought that he might know my taste, which he really didn't. But we were able to, take used CDs off the racks and put them on and listen to them while we were working. And so he said, well, I got something for you I'm going to put on. I think you'll like it. I said, okay, well, what is it? And he said, Johnny Cash. And I said, country, man, it's not my thing. I was just like, I don't like country, because I'm thinking, modern country. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so he put the record on, and I immediately was like, oh, yeah, wow, this is great. This is great. And again, like, it's hard for me to really remember, but I'm pretty sure it was what they call American 3, Johnny Cash American 3, Solitary Man. And so when I left that day, I bought the record. And then as I started kind of listening more and more to him, I started going back and buying more of the records.
Yeah.
Going kind of back to the beginning, all the way back to the beginning with his start at Sun Records again, where Elvis got his start, where Carl Perkins, where Roy Orbison, where Conway Twitty, Howlin' Wolf was first recorded there.
Oh my gosh.
I went back to that point. Then I kind of met in the middle. At that point, all these documentaries and books and stuff were coming out about him. Then he passed.
Yes.
That was right around the time that he had just released the song Hurt and had been nominated for and won all of these music video awards on MTV.
That's when you saying that it was like banned on MTV. The music
not that
video,
one, but the Delia's Gone video was it was banned from MTV.
MTV RIP.
because he's shown burying the model Kate Moss as though he has killed her and now he's burying her. Honestly, even now, it's still pretty striking to watch. Because it's black and white and he's all in black and he's got a black duster on and the wind is blowing and howling and he's just kind of standing there glaring and just mouthing the words to the song. And it is still pretty striking.
Can you find it on YouTube, you think?
Oh, easy.
And it's called Delia's
Gone. Yeah.
Okay.
And in fact, it's a song that he wrote earlier in his career and then revisited. He wrote it, I think, the late 50s, early 60s, and then decided to re-record it in 1993, 94, and put it on his first American album. And I will say it's one of those songs that I don't want to say hasn't aged well, but it is about killing a woman and killing a woman who he's close to. So it's like, you could argue things like, I guess Maxwell's Silver Hammer, maybe not the best. It's about, clocking a guy over the head with a silver hammer. That said,
he sings about shooting a man in Reno to watch him die. So,
correct.
Yeah. This is the same guy.
It depends on how you look at it.
Okay.
I guess, well, I would argue that, that's a different kind of violence than violence toward a woman.
Yeah,
so I think that's where I'm going.
Yes.
It's like domestic abuse and assault is maybe not something we should venture into anymore.
Yeah.
But if you consider it like a period piece, that's something else. That's something else. You know what I mean? Because he wrote it when he wrote it. He wrote it. There are plenty of songs within the country diaspora that we refer to as murder ballads. Well, most of them weren't recorded or written in the 60s. They were written in like the 1300s in England. You know what I mean? So songs like I'm trying to think of the Louvin brothers used to do a bunch of them, but they're what we call murder ballads, and that's what they're about.
I've never heard that said before. Murder ballads.
Yeah. You can even go further back, and there are plenty of operas that are about similar things. One of my favorite operas is called Wozzeck, and it is very similar to that, as a man who kind of goes insane and murders a woman. But but then again, there's shows like Sweeney Todd is one of my favorite musicals. It's not quite that; it's different. But anyway,
all right. Okay.
I know things went a little dark there, but
no.
To be fair, Johnny had a dark side and a light side. It wasn't always as dark as what people kind of think. But
right. I just know him. I saw the movie Walk the Line with Reese Witherspoon.
Right.
I saw that, so that's kind of, and then in talking to you and understanding a little bit more layers.
Yeah. Well, again, so that came out as again, like what I would say is like a perfect storm for me,
right?
Because I started getting to him like 2001, 2002. He passed in 2003.
Yeah.
All these tributes started coming out not long after that. Then people just calling him, like the greatest ever. And then 2006, the movie comes out, and then at that point, the musical Ring of Fire was here on Broadway. And then it started going into, again, what I call regional theaters, where I was working at the time. So by 2008, I was working in regional theaters that were starting to do the show Ring of Fire. And at the time, I was such a big fan that I just had my guitar and I was just like playing through songs on my own.
Okay.
I worked for a theater for a long time that had, they still do. They do what they call cabarets. So on a Saturday night, after the show that the patrons have come to see, say Guys and Dolls, Anything Goes, they leave the theater and they go either into the lobby or a smaller space, and all of those performers come out in their plain clothes and have either guitars or sheet music for a piano player to play, and they do something different. And they're like, "Hi, you may remember me as Sky Masterson in Guys and Dolls, but I'm here to do a song from Rent for you tonight." And it's just like a cabaret setting.
Oh, that's cool.
So I found that instead of having to go and rehearse with a piano player every week, if I just worked up a song with my guitar, I could stand up there and do it. And so I started doing Johnny Cash songs almost every week. And by the time Ring of Fire was released, the rights were released so that they could be done in regional theater. The company I was working for said, "Hey, so you keep doing those Johnny Cash songs at cabarets. Are you interested in doing the show? Because we really think we want you to do it." I was like, yeah. So I performed not as him, but performed his songs on stage professionally for the first time in 2008 in Ring of Fire. And then just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, I was trying to think it fireballed from there. So
Yeah.
I think snowball. Oh my gosh. Because I saw you perform live. What was it? It was last year. I want to say it was
October
September
5th, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was blown away by like what you could do.
You're very kind.
Yeah, no, I mean, what would you say was your first song that you played of his, or one that you love to play? I know that's a big old question.
I mean, it's hard to not say "I Walk the Line." It's such a complex song, lyrically, musically. It was very meaningful to him. So it's hard for me to not say "I Walk the Line." I would probably put that at the top. I would also say that, kind of at the beginning when I started playing a lot of tunes, one that I gravitated toward was called "Drive On." It's one that he wrote, again, like in the early-ish 90s, 92, 93. And he wrote it, and it's the story I always tell when I do this song, but he wrote it because he and June were reading all these books about Vietnam and the conditions, and like they had gone to Vietnam and performed for the soldiers a number of times, but he was an avid reader. I mean, he read everything, and so he started reading these books about the soldiers' experience in Vietnam, and he read a line about basically guys going along. They'd see one of their buddies get shot and fall, and there was no time to stop and like help them or grieve. So they just say, "Drive on, it don't mean nothing." And so he took that and he wrote a song and put himself in the place of a veteran who had come back and was thinking back on the experiences and how different things were now, but also how then they had to drive on to go past what was right in front of them. But now driving on meant like keeping living and keeping going and, doing what they could to kind of sort of fight the good fight, but not in war in life, which is relatively complex, but that's kind of who he was. So I definitely gravitated toward that song. And I find that when I perform, there's always veterans in the audience. And anytime I do a song about veterans, even if I don't mention them, but I always, dedicate it to them usually. Yeah. Either that one or another song in my repertoire, and people always come up and thank me afterwards.
Oh,
and so to me, that's one that I've just always done partially because of that, but because it's just a great song to me.
Okay. So do you? I know. I mean, we have a lot of time, which is good that we can play with this. So do you want to do a song now? Do you want to do it later? How are you feeling? Because obviously we have other talking.
I'll do one later. That's all right.
Later. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about within, Johnny Cash, and when you are performing and being a theater person like myself, only in high school theater, you draw upon real life personal experiences.
Absolutely.
And I know that you went through a very big personal experience within the past year, losing your parents. And I know I wanted to talk about this because I've had another friend here talk about, their grief and how they've transformed that. And in talking about that with your music, I mean, do you ever combine the two, or?
I've started mentioning my folks pretty much at every show.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Because they were obviously a very, very big support.
Yeah, they were a big
inspiration.
support, but they were really my first sort of everything. I mean, as I said, they introduced me to music as a kid, playing me different stuff. My dad absolutely is the first person. The first country song I ever heard was something that my dad played.
Yeah.
It was Battle of New Orleans by Johnny Horton. I was probably 3 or 4. I mean, I very distinctly remember it. My mother used to sing to me when I was little, and we had a song together that she used to sing to me, and then we danced to it at my wedding.
Oh.
So like music was always a big part of my life because of them.
Yeah.
And then again, they never pushed me toward anything. They supported my interests, and when my interests switched from baseball and basketball to theater, they were all about it, mostly because they were theater goers, and they, I had been running around the living room since I was a little kid, like singing along to records and like holding fake microphones, or sometimes holding real microphones that they'd get me. And so they kind of saw from an early age that I was going to be a performer.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big shock to them.
Mm-hmm.
So they just supported me through college. They really didn't stop seeing shows until my mother really wasn't well enough to, in maybe 2019. So if I had a show, they were seeing it. I flew them all over the place. I flew them to San Francisco, to Sacramento, to Toronto. They were there when I opened the tour at the Kennedy Center in DC. They were there for opening night. So I flew them everywhere. I mean, they saw everything. They had, all the literally all the t-shirts and the glasses and the keychains. And I mean, they were really two of my biggest fans. So,
and they must have been thrilled to get flown around everywhere just to kind of see you.
They did. I mean, they loved traveling. They loved different things about it. My dad was an avid photographer, even though he, just not a professional or anything, but he brought his camera everywhere, and he really kind of taught me about amateur photography. And I still do a lot of that and think about the things that he, showed me how to get certain, light and, make sure the aperture is this. And like, I don't know, he taught me a lot about that through our travels and seeing so many different things. The place I thought, oh God, they're not going to like this at all, was I was out in Las Vegas for about 11 months doing $1 Million Quartet. And I thought I was going to hate it, honestly. Mm-hmm. And about 3 months in, I went, oh God, I really like it here. I could probably stay here. And I flew them out, and they were there for an entire week. And they were like little kids in a candy shop and never gambled once. Like, they had no interest in gambling. All my mother wanted to see was like the roof at Caesars. They wanted to see the fountain show at the Bellagio. I took them to Red Rock Canyon. Took them to Hoover Dam. I mean, they just loved it. They loved it. But yeah, so most of my shows I do as Johnny Cash.
Right.
I do in character. Mm-hmm. So I either break character at the very, very end and thank people and say something about my folks, or now I'm also doing a lot of shows where it's just, hi, I'm Scott. This is my experience going out and playing Johnny Cash. Like, I'm doing a show this week at a bar right across the street from my apartment, and and again, it's more of a bar show. So I'm not portraying him so much as I'm just singing the tunes like him. And when I do that, I have much more latitude to bring up personal things. Like, I bring up the song that I didn't, but almost sang when I proposed to Sonia, because we were in Puerto Rico. She had been deathly ill for a couple of days, which we now think probably was COVID, which we didn't know at the time, but because COVID hadn't fully hit.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I'm going to sing this song. And then when it came to the moment, I was like, nope, you're not. Nope, abort, don't do that. But I bring that up when I sing that song, because that's what I think of when I sing that song. So I have that ability to kind of be a little more personal. Obviously, when I'm doing a musical like $1 Million Quartet or Ring of Fire, the best thing I can do is put something in the program.
Yeah.
So, I used to dedicate my shows to them anyway, but now I dedicate it to their memory and the fact that their support got me to where I am.
And you feel that, for everybody who goes through grief, there is something that gets them through. And for you, is it, you're an artist, right? So is it the music? Is it kind of the inflection of what you're singing about? Because it's only so your mom passed and then your father within 1 year.
Yeah, within 5 months.
Oh,
so
my
mom
God.
was Halloween of 24, which not hilariously, but also just kind of funny. My grandmother, her mother passed October 31st of 1988. And I feel like my grandmother somewhere is like, Donna, why did you... of course you had to die. But
That was my day.
and my father passed on March 18th, which unfortunately is my brother's birthday, March 18th, 2025. So within, again, about 5 months. As far as grief goes, I mean, I've been seeing a therapist for quite a long time, really since my mother was in a nursing home, because I found I was having trouble dealing with... I had a lot on my shoulders, is the best way to say it. I was dealing with her being there, the feeling that my brother wasn't helping as much as I felt he could, and my father being a little lost, but also being on his own cognitive decline. Yeah. And so I was struggling with trying to take care of all these things from, Arizona or New York City or wherever it was that I was traveling to. And I'm like, you guys are there living in the same house. Why can't you have a conversation? Yeah. And I'm the one here dealing with this. Mm-hmm. So I started seeing a counselor because of that, and then basically continued. And then honestly, I let it go for a while until my mom started getting more sick, isn't the best way to say it. But once things started getting more dire, I started in with therapy again, and then haven't stopped since then. So, I mean, I think that helps, but mostly I just talk about things. Yeah. The music helps, but I would say, there are a lot of songs now that I didn't associate with them that I associate with them now. And they're either a little too hard to sing, or I wouldn't say they necessarily... I think they're cathartic in a way that... Well, I sing this song called Live Forever, and I've been referencing them a lot lately with it. It's one that Johnny wrote relatively late in life. He recorded it with the Highwaymen, which some people know, some people don't know, but they're Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Chris Christopherson, and Johnny Cash. Yeah. And he recorded it with them, and with them, it's just kind of like a bouncy, fun number. But if you listen to what he's saying, it really isn't. It's about, I mean, it's about missing you when, essentially, will you miss somebody when they're gone? Like, they'll live forever, right, because their memory will live forever. The song that he is singing is going to live forever because it'll always be there. And that's what it's about. And I think before I didn't think about that. And now I think about them and their legacy, and my memories of them are what will help them sort of live forever, Yeah. And so I've been singing that one. But again, it's not like I wouldn't say it brings me solace, because it makes me think of them being gone. Right. But that's just part of it. I mean, there's no like, everyone has different paths with grief. Like, they do. How there's no like timetable, there's no recipe for like what works and what doesn't. I will say I just finished a book that I forced myself to read because I was like, I saw it was on a seller list actually on bullmoosemusic.com, which is again the place that I work for in Maine that I'm an avid shopper at. But they always, every week they come out with like what new books, records, stuff is coming out, and this book caught my eye, and I went, okay, well, I guess I'll buy that. It's called My Parents Are Dead, What Now? It's by an author named Becky Robeson. I don't know her. This is not a... no.
But
it was a hard read because I found that as I was getting through it, I went, well, I'm glad I did that. And I'm glad I did that without having to be told I needed to do that. Oh, man, I didn't think about doing that. Oh, crap, I should have put that on my list. Oh, I did that. Great. That's kind of like how everything came up. But also, as it happened, everything she talked about brought back the memory of me having to do that.
Oh.
Buying flowers for the funeral, picking songs for the funeral, sitting in the office with the pastor and like trying to think of what Bible passages and Psalms my mother would have wanted because my father wasn't capable, picking my father's casket, just things like that you don't really think about. And if you're left to do them on your own, which basically, I will say my brother definitely did help me with my mother's.
Yeah.
But when you're left to do that and you just have to make the best decision that you can because either someone else isn't capable or someone didn't tell you what they wanted, you just have to do the best that you can. And so that's a lot of what I thought about while I was reading this book was, just all of that coming back, all the processes of like, because I'm the personal representative of my father's estate, it's not just about my memories and the grief. It's also about like a fiduciary legal duty to the estate and what I have to do, what that means. And this woman was the same for her father, the author of this book. So I think, again, we had a pretty similar experience, except her parents were much more prepared than mine.
Well, I mean, I really like what parents are prepared. I mean, listen, I'm lucky my parents are both alive still. But, I've been having more conversations than not about the grief thing. Mm-hmm. And I just was on the phone with my friend, Tim, yesterday, and we were talking about this because his father just passed. And he was just like, Raegan, it's just so weird. It's not what you expect. And his mom's still alive. But, we were in this deep conversation about it. And I said, it's hard because this is like the time where like we're getting older. This is where like life starts really hitting you. And then I start thinking about, okay, I guess I'm going to have to get things in order. And, as a kid, like you have some things and you don't have all the answers until like it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what is that book called again? My
parents are dead. What now?
What now?
Becky Robison, Robison. And it's, I will say it's a very, she's very funny in a dark comedy way, but in a good way.
I mean, you have to laugh, right?
Yeah, you kind of do. And it has recommendations for everything, like, and every sort of circumstance. Like if you were left without a will, if you were left with a will, if you were left with a will that very specifically says, I want all these people to have all of these things, like it's almost like a choose your own adventure. Like it has so many recommendations, and it's based on she created a website first with a bunch of resources that you could go there and find these resources. And then she decided to write a book about it. So and the website I believe is the same. My parents are dead. Whatnow.com, I think is what it's called. Well, I
mean, if you think about it, because like, really, I don't know. I wouldn't, like, and 2 years ago, you wouldn't have known?
No. I mean, I think we, at least because we were having to do things for my mother's health care, there were definitely steps that we put in place, and I would love to pretend as though I had help, but I'm the one who'd said, we need to get an elder care lawyer. We need to do this. Mm-hmm. We need to figure out how to pay for these bills because mom is not coming home. Dad, you can continue to tell me that you want me to rearrange the bedroom so that she can come home and sit in that chair, but that is not going to happen. I'm sorry. So we do need to move forward with this, and we do need to figure out how we're going to take care of these things. And the best thing I could have done was to get an elder care lawyer, because now he's my lawyer through all of this estate stuff. And again, a lot of this is like laid out in the book that she wrote and on her website. So a lot of this was like validation as I was reading it, to go, Okay, so I did do the right thing there.
Right.
I did things earlier than I thought in a good way. Like,
Yeah.
great. But that doesn't mean that it didn't bring back, a lot of heavy memories, and just, again, this feeling of isolation, and just like, I'm dealing with this by myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shouldn't be, but I am.
Yeah. No, it's interesting when you have a sibling. We'll get into that with me on another podcast. God bless. Love my brother, but yeah, sometimes one sibling handles things a little different than the other sibling, right?
Yep.
And I do wonder when things get tough for myself, how that's going to all pan out. And you don't know until it happens. But
yep. What I will say is, you can be prepared. There are many ways to be prepared without, like, counting days or something.
Oh,
and
God,
that's the whole thing.
I'm not like I feel like my dad's like, I'm not in the ground yet. I'm like, no, I know you're not in the ground. I know, but I just, like, there's certain things we have to, like, figure out,
Right. Listen, the one thing I will say, without being totally morbid, but it is something that I feel like people don't think about, and if they don't, like, well, you're going to have to make the decision, is things like advanced health directives. You should have them, and your parents should have them. And if you don't know what they are, you don't want to have to try to figure it out at the very end.
Oh.
That's,
Okay.
and they're very simple. Do you want to be resuscitated, or don't you?
Right.
Do you want to, do you want these things? As much as they're an uncomfortable conversation, when you're faced with a doctor telling you, I need to know within the next 10 minutes what you think you want to do here.
Yeah.
You better have it in writing. Otherwise, you are going to have to figure it out on your own. And then you're going to have to explain to your loved ones why. I that sounds harsh, but it's true. My mother, we had to make the decision, okay, do we insert a feeding tube to keep her alive because she can no longer eat and can't swallow and can barely breathe? Or do we let nature take its course? And because she didn't have advanced health directives, my brother and I had to make that decision. And we had to explain it to my father because he wasn't capable of understanding fully what was going on. And similarly with him, he fell and was incapacitated, and so we couldn't ask him anything. And even then, we didn't have it on hand. So my brother had to leave him at the hospital to go get the paperwork, come back with it, show it to the doctors, which was that he did not want to be, on a life support system, go into a vegetative state, any of those things. So that is the decision we made there. But what I'm saying is that of all the things, wills and all of that stuff, that's all, yes, important. But that is one of the most important things that you can have, is to know those things, because you don't want to be trying to make that decision when you're emotional and thinking about, well, this is my mom. Yes, but it's also it is your mom, and you're trying to do what is not only best for them, but what they would have wanted, and what is in the middle there sometimes. So
that's note to self. I got to do that for myself, because I know that. I think a Pilot, the husband, he has it taken care of. I've been dragging my feet. I'm just as bad. I'm just dragging my feet. Now, listen, I know I'm looking at the time right now, and I think we do have enough time for the Johnny Cash. I know it's a quick pivot from.
He again, he was a bit of a dichotomy,
right?
So he had a light side and a dark side. I feel like the song, if I'm going to sing a song, it's going to be a little bit of both,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
I'm just going to adjust this a little bit.
Yeah. Do whatever you need to do, and what have you. So as promised, Scott is going to perform for us. Again, this has been a very heavy and light conversation, which, again, as you said, the dichotomy of Johnny Cash, it kind of plays into that. So this is going to be.
You can't think that he's, he had an unbelievable sense of humor. In fact, if you want to see just what his sense of humor was, I highly suggest Well, other than the fact you can look up him doing his Elvis impersonation in about 1958. I suggest looking up Johnny Cash getting into and out of his Ferrari. It's a video on YouTube. It's hilarious. First of all, shout out to Gibson Guitars and this gorgeous Johnny Cash model SJ200. There's only 100 of them in the world.
What?
Yeah. This is part of the reason I brought it is when my father passed, I was left a bit of an inheritance that had nothing to do with the estate, and I used it to do things that I thought he would appreciate, which were things to further my career, buying some gear, buying some things that I'd always wanted. This was a pipe dream that I was like, I'm never, ever going to be able to have that. And then once I realized you actually can do that, I said, okay, well, I'm doing it. This is a song that I've now decided I'm never going to do a Johnny Cash show without this song in it. He said it was the most personal song he ever wrote. Most people do not know it. It was released much later in his life. And he wrote it about essentially June helping him through his demons, his addiction, all of that. And just kind of him coming out on the other side, but not really ever expecting that to maybe happen.
Wow, okay.
And it's called Like a Soldier. With the twilight colors falling and the evening lay in shadows, hidden memories come stealing from my mind. And I feel my own heart beating out, simple joy of living, and I wonder how I ever was that kind. But the wild road I was rambling was always out there calling, and you said 100 times I should have died. But you reached down and touched me and lifted me up with you, so I believe it was a road I was meant to ride. I'm like a soldier getting over the war. I'm like a young man getting over his crazy days. Like a bandit getting over his lawless ways. I don't have to do that anymore. I'm like a soldier getting over the war. There are nights that I don't remember, and pain that's been forgotten, and a lot of things I choose not to recall. There are faces that come to me in my darkest secret memories, faces that I wish would not come back at all. But in my dreams, parade of lovers from the other times and places, there's not one that matters now, no matter who. I'm just thankful for the journey and that I've survived the battles and that my spoils of victory is you. I'm like a soldier getting over the war. I'm like a young man getting over his crazy days. Like a bandit getting over his lawless ways. Every day gets better than the day before. I'm like a soldier getting over the war.
Oh my gosh, I'm like crying over here. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean,
I wasn't expecting this moment.
I will also put again, I'm not paid for any of these things.
Yeah.
My dear friend Mark Steelper is the Johnny Cash and Carter family historian. He just came out with a book called The Complete Johnny Cash. It's all of the songs he ever wrote. Even if he wrote like a little sentence of something that never even turned into a song, it has everything there. You can even see some of his handwritten poems, lyrics, all of that.
Oh my God.
And that's one in the book that just, it's pretty striking. Again, I would, if you're ever curious about his style, about like where some of that stuff comes from, that is a great place to start, because you can see the poems that he wrote as like a 7-year-old kid all the way through to the last notes he was writing to June after she passed, when he couldn't even see what he was writing because he was nearly blind and couldn't really even hold a pen. It's incredible.
I have to ask, how do you get through these songs without crying? Like they're like beautiful.
Well, that one I think I'm used to now. Like I said, there are a couple that. There's one that I based my solo show around that it's very difficult because I talk about mom and I talk about his parents, and then I go into this song about mother, and it's it's called The Letter Edge in Black. It was written 1897, but it's about a guy being at home. The letter carrier comes up to his door, knocks on the door, hands him a letter written in black, edged in black. And it's from his father saying his mother has died. She wanted you to come home. I know we didn't get along, but she would really like you to be here to say goodbye to her. That's what the song is about. And I put it in the show, 10 years ago when it meant something to me, but because it was a great song.
Yeah.
And now when I sing it, it has a very different connotation.
Yeah.
And it now, even since my father has passed, it has another connotation. So yeah, I mean, it's just, there are certain ones you just kind of can't, can't help but let your emotions come into it. I mean, I think we were talking about on the phone, and I said, the theater is this place that we all come to be and do something else and to create another story and to tell someone else's story. And we tend to leave our baggage, our crap outside, and not let it affect what we're doing, particularly if it is antithetical to what it is that we're doing. But sometimes we do use our emotions to fuel that. And so it depends, if it's a positive thing, I let those things run free. If it's not, then I don't, but like if I start crying during a song like that, it's not necessarily going to be Scott Moreau is crying because he's singing a song about his mom. You can be interpreted as Johnny Cash is getting emotional thinking about his mother. And so to me, that is as beneficial as anything else.
Well, I am so glad that you were willing to just open up and bring out the guitar. And I mean, there's probably mascara around. I'm trying.
Absolutely not.
Well, it's the blotting. I can blot very well. What can I say?
Professional blotter. Yeah.
Professional blotter.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. Well, Scott, I am just thank you for gracing us with your presence and your beautiful voice.
My pleasure.
And then if anybody wants to find out where you're performing, I mean, they just look up your name. I'll put your name in the podcast description.
You can.
They just
if you Google my name and Johnny Cash and you don't find me, there's something really wrong. But best way to find me is either on www.ultimatejohnnycash.com or same thing on Instagram. You can follow me at Ultimate Johnny Cash. I have tour dates all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's definitely a show you don't want to miss because it is awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you so much. We'll wave to this camera. Say goodbye. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And Johnny Cash. All right. Bye, friends. Oh my God. I'm like.
Sorry. That wasn't my intention.
No. I know it wasn't. I was just like, your voice is so good. I'm like, oh my God. Wow. How do you feel?
Good. You want to hear that Live Forever song?
I kind of do. If they come in, they can come in. Yeah. If you want to do it, yeah.
It's not long.
Sometimes they'll come in and say my time's over, but it should be fine.
I'm gonna live forever. I'm gonna cross that river. I'm gonna catch tomorrow now. You're gonna wanna hold me just like I always told you. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone. Nobody here will ever find me and I will always be around. Just like the songs I leave behind me, I'm gonna live forever now. You fathers and you mothers, be good to one another. Just try to raise your children right. Don't let them feel forsaken. Don't let the darkness take them. Just lead them gently to the light. And when this world is gone asunder, and all the stars fall from the sky, remember someone really loves you. We'll live forever, you and I. I'm gonna live forever. I'm gonna cross that river. I'm gonna catch tomorrow now. You're gonna wanna hold me, just like I always told you. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone. I'm gonna live forever. I'm gonna cross that river. I'm gonna catch tomorrow now.
Awesome. I'm adding this in the pod.
No, I mean...
Oh, wow.
I'll just play it until they tell me to shut up. I was standing by my window yesterday morning without a thought of worry or regret. When I saw the postman coming down the pathway, he was bringing me a letter edged in black. Well, he rang the bell and he whistled while he waited. Then he said, "Good morning to you, Jack." But he never knew the sorrow that he brought me when he handed me that letter edged in black. With trembling hand I took the letter from him, broke the seal, and this is what it said. "Come home, my boy, your poor old father wants you. Come home, my boy, your dear old mother's dead. The last words that your mother ever uttered was, 'Tell my boy I want him to come back.' My eyes are dim, my poor old heart is breaking, and I'm writing you this letter edged in black." With trembling, see, this is where my mental breaks, the block starts happening.
That's okay.
Those angry words I wish I'd never spoken. I never meant them, don't you, Jack? My eyes are dim, my poor old heart is breaking, and I'm writing you this letter edged in black. I hung my head in sorrow and in silence. The sunshine of my life it all had fled since the postman brought that letter yesterday morning, saying, "Come home, my boy, your dear old mother's dead." May the angels bear me witness, I am asking your forgiveness in this letter edged in black. Yeah.
Wow.
It's hard to remember that one these days.
That's hard to remember all those songs, though. I can't even imagine, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've just always had that memory. I mean, I don't know. It's never been an issue for me to remember things. I don't know.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, people always are like, "Oh my God, how do you remember the words to that crazy long song?" Which one? The one with the town names in it? Then Reno, Chicago, Fargo,
Oh, my
Minnesota,
God,
Buffalo,
yeah.
Toronto, Winslow, Sarasota, Wichita, Tulsa, Ottawa, Oklahoma, Tampa, Panama, Mattawa, Lapalum, Bangor, Baltimore, Salvador, Amarillo, Tocopilla, Barranquilla, and Padilla. I'm a killer.
Get out of
Just
here.
there. But I have a friend who, this is kind of hilarious, and if she ends up watching this, I'm not making fun of you, I promise.
No, it's fine.
To learn the song, to learn the part of the song that she had to sing, she had to picture the places on the map. And when she would sing it in the show, her eyes would go to where they were, like on a world, like on a globe.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
if it works for you, it works for you. She never messed it up. So
That's funny. I should let them know that we're done because they're probably looking at me like,
yeah.
I'm going to put this in though. This is some good stuff.